Hi, this is Josh at Hobbytown, and today we're going to be going over airbrush maintenance for all different kinds of airbrushes. So I've got a couple examples with me here just to go over actually here in front of you, and then I'll talk about the other designs that I don't have with me at the moment. So first thing is, if you're going to be cleaning out the airbrush, you need to have the various different kinds of cleaner. And the best thing to do in most cases is match the brand. Same brand, safe bet pretty much. So if you're using, say, testers for enamel or lacquers, then you're going to want to use testers thinner like this. This is all-purpose, works really well for enamel paints of pretty much any brand, but testers specifically. Using Iwata like I tend to do, or Tamiya like I tend to do, then the Tamiya stuff here, since it's an alcohol-based acrylic, this is the best way to take care of it. For basically any other kind of acrylic, the Iwata Medea cleaner is the best way to go. And each one of these is just that individual pigment. It's the best at really taking it apart and lifting it back off of the airbrush surface. Few people, on the internet will recommend Windex. It's something I really don't recommend. It contains a lot of chemicals that, yes, will lift the paint off of the airbrush surface, but it also etches the brass that's inside, and it can wear down and destroy the O-rings that are inside over time. And in most designs nowadays, like the Grex here is a good example, as well as various Iwata designs, the O-ring is actually captive. There's no way to get it back out. So once the O-ring has split and cracked because of the chemical exchange with the ammonia and Windex, it's completely gone. You can't do anything with that airbrush anymore. Let's see here. So while you're spraying, then paint is going to collect inside the nozzle here, and it can cause variations in the spray pattern, or even block it continuously as you're spraying and it hardens on the tip. Best way to take care of that really quickly is to take a cotton swab and just really quickly soak it in the thinner, and then very carefully around the needle, just kind of insert it on the side and then move it around, just kind of roll it. And what that'll do is it'll pick up all of the paint that's collected inside that tip and help pull it out. And that'll unblock the tip in most cases if you're starting to see your spray break down or start to become uneven. Let's see, and then if you really need to take care of it, just pull off the nozzle cap. These Grexes are nice because they literally just pull off, but unscrew it if you need to, and then hold like that and very gently just roll it against the needle tip towards the tip itself. And that'll clean all of that off and basically renew the brush. For actually swapping out colors when you're changing from one color to another, then you want to pour out any of the excess paint from the cup, and then a small amount of the cleaning solution goes in. For this here, I'm just going to use the Tamiya and just a little bit in there to kind of clean it up. Let's see. And then again with the cotton swab, you're going to want to get in there and just kind of clean around inside there, just to get rid of all of the excess. Once you've done that, then pour out the excess in there, and then put in some more. And this here you'll want to fill up maybe a quarter of the cup, and then hold your finger at the tip here, and when you pull back, it will actually bubble back through into the color cup, and that will really help to clean out the internal mechanisms, and that'll lift paint away from the needle surface itself and really get it out of the way. Once you've done that, then pour out the excess again. And you'll want to have one of these cups handy while you're airbrushing, because you're going to be pouring out a lot of waste. Let's see. And For siphon feed, it's pretty much the same, except instead of it being a color cup, it's going to be a cup hanging underneath. And for that, you just need to pull out the color cup, and then you'll have a bottle of the cleaner set aside, which you just put right in, and you spray that through until it sprays clear. And then for an end of session, which is what you do at the end of the night, you're not going to be spraying anymore. If it's just for a few hours, or if it's going to be overnight, you want to really make sure that you take care of the needle, because the longer you leave paint sitting on there, the harder it's going to be to get off afterwards. So for that, you're going to start the same as when you're doing a color swap rinse. And then once you've done all of that, cleaning out the cup and everything, you'll actually unscrew the handle here, unscrew the needle chuck, and then you'll want to very gently pull the needle out. Don't bend it or anything, just pull straight out. And once you have it out here, you'll want to have it positioned over your cup, and just gently have the thinner go down the length of the needle just to lubricate it, and then take a cotton swab like this and always pull towards the tip, and that'll help to make sure that the tip doesn't get bent, and also so that you don't poke your fingers. When that's done, set the needle aside. And then, let's see, you'll also want to clean out the tip again. Without the needle in here, then you can just take a cotton swab that's been soaked in cleaner and give it a good clean in there. And then a little bit of Q-tip there will really fix up the last of it. With that done, then put the needle back in. Chuck back on, and then you'll just want to spray through until it's dry. And once there's no longer any liquid spraying out, then you're ready to go. It can be set aside for the night. And then when you start actually experiencing problems, like it's really not spraying out the way that it used to, or you're having to up the pressure to get the same spray that you used to get, usually that's a sign that you really need to go through a deep clean. So for something like that, you do the same to start with as you would for when you ended the session that evening. And then once that's done, then you'll need to have, I'd say, some fine tweezers, like so. One of these very thin pipe cleaner brushes made specifically for this purpose. And there's the box. For each brand, they give you a little wrench here that's specifically designed for this purpose. You want to make sure that you keep that wrench with you, because it's specifically sized for your airbrush, and it's going to be the best way to disassemble everything safely. Let's see. So I'll go ahead right here. You want to get everything to the same point as you do during the end of session clean. For these here, this actually screws off as well, which makes it easier to take care of. And then you have your nozzle cap right here, which you'll want to unscrew. And right here you have the nozzle. This is the single most important part of your airbrush. It's also the most fragile and the easiest to break. So every part of this you'll want to be very careful about how you're actually getting it off. So you take the wrench that came with the airbrush and get it onto there, and very gently, it's going to be counterclockwise, just kind of pops, and then remove it like so. With that off, then a little bit of your cleaner inside the well here will help to get everything lubricated. And then you want to take your brush and both from the front into there, and just kind of swab it a few times, and then also from the back into the front, and these are flexible so it's not an issue getting it inside that tube. Just kind of swab everything out, and this right here is going to fix 90% of the problems that you have with your airbrush. Once you've used that to loosen everything, then you want to take the cotton swab and just kind of swab everything out of the reservoir here. And it's probably going to take a few tries really to get all of that gunk out, but once you've gotten it loosened with the brush, it's really going to scrape out really easily with this bud right here. So then once you've got that all taken care of, then you want to take the needle right here, and with this brush here, and if you've actually got it on hand, a wooden toothpick that you've sharpened with sandpaper, just very gently put it into the needle there and scrub it around back and forth, and that'll get rid of any extra paint residue which is inside here. The main issue from this is actually blocking the needle, and that's what causes the paint to not spray out like it usually should. So with that taken care of, you'll want to put it back on here. Don't take the wrench yet, and just screw it back on until it's finger tight. And then once you have it on there, take the wrench, and you want to turn it clockwise just until it's tight. It's not going to be any more than like 1/8 of a turn. And with that back on, and then needle cap carefully back on. Reassemble. Once you've done all of that, you can just go ahead and check it, and what you should get, you'll probably get some gunk at first just from the residue, but you should get a clear spray of just air once it's all through. Okay, and then you can always test that just by filling the brush with water. And if you have this done appropriately, when you just pull back on the trigger without pulling back on the second action part, which you can feel with the Grex, it's going to be the same as just pushing down on the trigger with a dual action brush like this. You'll get just air with no paint coming out, and that's to make sure that you have the needle packed appropriately. And then when you pull back, you should get just a very fine spray. And you should get just pretty much a perfect circle of fine mist. And when you have that, you won't have any kind of variation on there, and it'll give you a better spray pattern. And then once you've sprayed through like that, empty your excess water, and when you spray again, you should get nothing but air. So that's the very basics of it. We'll probably go further into the actual painting process, but I've noticed from talking with people a lot of the times that the primary thing people are worried about with an airbrush is actually maintaining it once they have it. So I figured we would get the maintenance basics out of the way and and that way we can get people more interested into airbrushing, because it really is the next step and brings your painting skills to the next level. So I think that's going to be all for today, and thanks for watching. We're Hobbytown at Highway 6 in Westheimer, and just come by and see us anytime.